bar that's being shown here. And okay, I do believe that we're live. It's such a nebulous thing. You don't have anything there yet? Okay.
Up, it says that we're live.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, well, everybody, I'm going to assume that we're all broadcasting live here. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Flight Live show. Whether you join us for the very first time or you're one of our returning fearful flyers, fearless flyers, I should say, we're glad that you're here. And as always, our goal is to help you take one more step toward confidence and clarity and calm every time you fly. So settle in and join the chat. So here we go. I'm gonna bring up my extra slides here, and so that you can see what we're broadcasting. Let me make one more adjustment. Yeah, it's like flying an airplane solo. Do that. Okay. And I've got a special guest here, Lubomir. I'm going to bring him on in just a minute, and I just want to verify you can see the presentation, right, Lubomir?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
great.
I can see it perfectly.
Okay, so once again, everybody, good evening and welcome to Fearless Flight Live. And our goal, as always, is to help you get better in your fear of flying. And I think that's a key term. Is we don't expect you to get over it in one fell swoop. Just gain a little bit of confidence each time you fly, so it's a better experience. Um, Tonight's show is largely the result of Claire's question toward the end of the show last week. And she had asked me or asked us about this whole thing with the government shutdown and the impact on the controllers and how that might play in their lives. And it inspired me. I've talked about the shutdown, and even before that, we were talking about delays due to the system not having enough people or not having as many people as they would like and all that. And so I thought, this would be a great opportunity since we are in the fourth week of the government shutdown and there's been a lot more in the news. So I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about in general how the air traffic control system works when it comes to adversity like this, and I'm going to talk about how you can get past that because we just can't live in that kind of anxiety all of our lives. So, and there's been a lot of concern lately about the shutdown and how it's affecting air traffic control. So tonight like I said, we'll explore not only what applies to this situation, but it'll really help you understand how the aviation system manages delays, safety, and flow control in general. And flow control is a generalized description of movement of air traffic throughout the United States. And as always, we'll be taking your questions and comments along the way. So please share your thoughts in the chat. We love hearing from you. And without further ado, let's dive into this. Uh, uh, of course, the first thing I want to mention is the Birds of a Feather group invitation. Uh, Whether you're just starting to work on your fear flying or you've already taken some big steps and just want to hang around for some more support, this group is for you. It's safe, it's private, and it's filled with people who get it, and they get you. And that's the big difference, I think. You'll find encouragement, expert guidance, and most importantly, you'll find that you're not alone. We call it the birds of a feather because we all flock together to lift each other up. So if you're ready to take the next step, even just to lurk and listen, click the Join Now button when you go over to this link there, the flf.link/birds of a feather, BOF there. We'd love to welcome you aboard. Use the link and we'll see you inside. So at this point in time, I'm going to pause the share for just a minute. I'm going to bring in my guest who's been on screen there. His name is Lubomir Jordan. And how long ago did we meet Jordan? I think it's probably been uh, at least 4 or 5 months or so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
you attended the class live over in Phoenix?
In
I mean
Phoenix.
Phoenix in
Or
Valencia. Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, yeah. And tell us just a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you live, and why why we met.
Yeah, so I live in Los Angeles. And I was very desperate to find answers on my fear of flying. And, thanks to Google and the internet, I found Captive.
Oh, you froze
Let
it.
me,
There you go. Froze just for a minute there.
yeah. And I thought, you know what? Let me see what this is all about. What really enticed me is that not only do you have, experience in therapy and cognitive behavior, but also you yourself know aviation. And so
Yeah.
that for me was comforting. And that's how, we connected. Um,
And when did you first, have you always been afraid to fly, or is this something more recently?
no, actually, this happened to me as an adult. I used to fly all around the world, really, when I was younger. I've never even thought about it as a fearful thing. It was always very exciting to me going to the airport, even being on the plane. I was always the actually the most calm one of my friends and family. I would fall asleep. I would
Sure.
actually like the rocking,
Yeah.
motion. But I did panic on a flight pretty severely, and ever since, I haven't been able to snap out of it.
About how old are you,
I'm
Lou?
35. I'm 35.
And how long ago was it when you had this flight that went to arrive?
That was during the beginning of COVID. So when was
Okay.
that? 2019, 2020,
Okay.
around then. And I was on a flight and had a panic attack. And since then, my brain is associating the plane with me panicking.
Uh-huh.
As we've learned, and as I've talked to you, a lot of people have different triggers with flying. For
Yeah.
me, it's not so much that I think the plane will fall out of the sky, or the noises, are a scary thing to me, or takeoff or landing is not scary to me. To me, it's more so, mm, being afraid of my own emotions when I'm
Being
approaching.
afraid of withstanding the feelings of being overwhelmed.
Exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And thinking
And of
that I will.
course you're like so many people. I would say, I've often thrown out there, I'd say half the people now are more concerned about their own
Mhm.
inability or the
Right.
fear that they won't be able to withstand their emotions than they are about anything mechanical about the airplane.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Hmm.
So you did it. And I'm gonna cut to the quick here because you're a really unusual guest here, and this takes more courage than I think anything. And that is you came to the class in LA and then decided that you wanted to fly with us when we tried to fly a couple of weeks ago. You
Right.
got on the airplane and then you decided that was not your day to fly.
I
And
know.
and I express it that way as I tried to that day when
Hmm.
you decided that you needed to get off the airplane.
Hmm.
And because so many people just beat on themselves and say, "Gosh, woe is me, what's wrong
Hmm.
with me," and all that, and that doesn't help in the long run.
Hmm.
What helps
I
is,
know.
hey, I got this far today. I'm gonna consciously make a decision to get off rather than feel like a victim and get off. And so
Exactly,
so
exactly.
tell people what that was like when you
Right.
got to that point.
So I have had a history of not getting on flights, because my emotions just take over and it's
Uh-huh.
too much to handle. But I have learned it is a process, and my anxiety about the whole, me working on this issue is not a timeline or a certain set goal.
Yes.
It's a work in process, so sometimes it's two steps forward. I have gone on flights successfully,
Sure.
actually, and I have also. I feel just better about aviation in general, and I've learned a lot about aviation so
Yeah.
far. So there's less mystery and mystique to it, but the part that sometimes does get to me is my own emotions when, especially when, we're boarding. So as you witnessed, that's
Yeah.
kind of the critical few minutes where my brain has to like somehow make a decision. But of
You had
course,
some insights, right?
of
As a result.
course, with each situation, I do get a lot of insight. I mean, it's not like a happy feeling not being able to make it on a
Right, right.
on a flight, but since the last time, I actually a lot of positive things happened. I've realized, yes, I do have some sort of phobia with aviation, but
Uh-huh.
also I think there's some post-traumatic stress that is happening, something bigger that I need to dig a little deeper to be able to manage my own emotions.
Right, right. And post-traumatic stress is, yeah, I see so many people with symptoms of that, but
Mm-hmm.
they ever get called out for it or labeled like that. I have had my own post-traumatic stress in my life. I know what it's like. It's
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable, and it really triggers this chemistry in your body that makes it you feel overwhelmed and all that. And sometimes we do need more support outside of just talking about, how you're going to
Right.
get on the airplane and how it works and all that. So,
Right.
uh,
Right.
yeah. So I want to applaud you for coming on, and
Yeah.
if anybody has any questions, I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you this evening. My good friend and right-hand co-pilot here, Dieter Staudinger, is not available tonight. But what's that? Oh. And anyway, so what I would ask is if you have a question or something you want to say regarding Lubomir, please text me at 602-315-4602. That is my cell phone. You'll come in live and I'll attempt to monitor that here. So, okay. Well, what I want to do, Dan, I'll ask you in kind of a transition there. Does the whole notion of the government shutdown, assuming you were getting on an airplane, do you have thoughts about that as well? About the system?
That doesn't no like that type of stuff does not trigger me personally. I don't have a fear towards, I do trust the process and the system, and
Yeah,
obviously I've read a lot of statistics and I know it's a well organized, oiled machine more
yeah,
than anything else we'll experience on the ground, you know.
absolutely.
So I do feel like I'm in good hands. The thing is, like I said, maybe someone out there can relate to me. I do feel like I'm in really good hands when I'm at the airport, in the airplane, or anything regarding aviation. I truly feel that I'm taken care of. My fear is again my own brain, my own
Yeah.
brain having this post-traumatic stress and being triggered at the sight of a interior of a plane. Actually, it used to be really bad where I would not even be able to look up at the sky
Uh-huh.
and be close to airplanes. And
Right.
I will say things when you put energy towards it, it does get better, but it's not like this for me at least. It wasn't this like overnight, you know, um overnight journey like people are like sometimes I even expected,
Yeah.
it's a slow progress. And when I look back at the things I couldn't do, now I'm going to the airport, I'm getting on the flight.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't, but that for me is growth.
And you possess what it really takes, and that is perseverance and commitment to do that, and
Hmm.
you will be successful. So, okay, so I'll invite you to just stay along here with me,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll bounce something off
Yeah.
you, or you can, if you got something to say.
Hmm.
What we'll do, let me reshare my screen for people out here, and we'll get this underway here. Let me get my other screen up there. So. Uh, Question: should I be worried that stressed or unpaid air traffic controllers could make flying less safe? That's the essence of the question that Claire was asking last week, and what I did a little bit of a deep dive today to see if I could come up with some things that might be comforting to her and to any of you out there. And I'll give you the specific answer to this question at the end. So I'm going to hang in there. But concerns continue to rage about the impact of the shutdown on air traffic control and safety. You hear people on both sides. I read a quote from Vice President Vance about saying that, that the state of the system and having the shutdown could maybe lead to some kind of or a negative situation in aviation or an incident. I don't think that was helpful, and just like I don't think anybody who speculates on things like that, because it doesn't speak to the facts. And so, it's an understandable question why you might think and concern yourselves with the status of the controllers, especially since they're not being paid right now. And you've been hearing about it a lot lately. So when we see headlines about air traffic controllers working without pay or under added stress, it's natural for our minds to imagine the worst case scenario. That worst case scenario is what kept our ancestors alive. And that's the problem with any anxiety disorder, is managing that. So despite having touched on this topic several times over the past few weeks, I thought it deserved another look at, since Claire wasn't the only one who's expressed concern, and I've heard from several people out there. So tonight we're talking about something that's been all over the news, and this is the government shutdown, and how it's specifically for this group, how it's affecting air traffic control, flight delays, and people trying to fly across the country. You've probably seen the headlines. Longer lines, delayed flights, controllers tired or sick and tired. And if flying already makes you a little uneasy, that kind of news definitely can crank up the anxiety. So tonight, I want to try to separate some facts from fear, and tell you what's really happening behind the scenes here, how safety is still fully protected, and what you can do to stay calm and confident, even if things don't go as planned. By the end of the show, I want you to walk away knowing this: even when the skies slow, the system and you are built to handle it. So let's get started. I completely understand how frustrating delays can be, and forget about the controller delays. Many of you have told me you get in the back of the airplane, you didn't want to go in the first place, but finally when they push back from the gate, you say, okay, we're underway. And then those silly pilots pull off to the side somewhere between the gate and the runway. And it's like, what the heck? And of course, with that negative bias, most of you think something's gone wrong. Well, so we're not talking about those delays, but this information tonight will hopefully add to support those of you who are troubled by that as well. The delays are frustrating. You plan, you prepare, and then suddenly things slow down, and it's easy for your mind to jump straight to worry. And that question comes up: is everything okay out there? Here's the truth, and it's important to remember this: safety is never compromised, never. Even during a government shutdown like we're under right now, the FAA makes sure that every essential safety operation continues without interruption. It doesn't say we don't make mistakes, but that's never the intent. And air traffic controllers, pilots, maintenance crews, they're the ones that are still on the job and still follow the same safety procedures that we do day in and day out, regardless of what's going on politically. What does change is efficiency, not safety. You've heard me say it in a different way. We just don't keep launching airplanes into a system that we don't know will be fully able to handle it. So we slow things down. And the system slows down on purpose to protect everybody's margin of safety. Think of it like rush hour traffic. The flow may be slower, but the rules and safeguards stay firmly in place. Think about it too. One of the things when you're in a traffic jam on a freeway, yeah, you're not getting anywhere as fast as you normally would, but you're not traveling as fast either, and you have more time to think about things. It's not exactly a one-to-one analogy, but it does help to kind of understand that just because things are going slower or more slowly doesn't mean that things are wrong. And that's actually reassuring, because it means that the system is designed to prioritize your safety over your schedule every single time. And my goal tonight is to give you clarity and confidence by helping you understand what's really happening behind the scenes. When you know how the system works, those unknowns don't feel quite so scary, and that's where real trust begins. And that's an issue for most of you, is having that trust supported. So or air traffic controllers are still working, but unpaid during times like this. And morale and fatigue risk rise, of course. Over 3.2 million passengers have been affected since October 1st, according to Reuters out there. Hotspots, places like Austin, San Francisco, and which has been compounded by weather and staffing up there. In Houston, they had 4+ hour TSA lines. But despite all these irregularities and things that have interfered with just the normal run of the mill, safety systems remain functional. The slowdown protects the capacity limits. And we'll talk about how that happens. Air traffic control really operates on a continuum, okay? It's always bringing balance between safety and efficiency. Safety on the one hand, efficiency on the other. And safety always comes first, always. It's built on redundancy, trained controllers, skilled pilots, advanced technology, and conservative flow control, meaning just managing how many airplanes are in the system at any one time, are always in progress. And when the system gets stretched, efficiency is what takes the hit. That means slower traffic, wider spacing between aircraft, literally on takeoff and up in the skies, or reroutes when needed. I've talked to you about that. Regardless of the government situation, when we're flying along and you got airplanes, going from LA to New York, for example, and they get over the Midwest, Kansas, and there's thunderstorms up there. Sometimes the airplanes have to scoot over behind each other in line, take more separation to run around areas of weather that we don't want to run through. And that's actually a good thing because it shows the system is protecting safety margins and not cutting corners. So the next time you hear about delays, remember this: a delay doesn't mean danger. Okay? Just because it's a delay, it doesn't mean that there's danger up there. It simply means that the system is working exactly the way it's designed to. Think of air traffic control like a dimmer switch, okay? Not an on and off switch. When the pressure builds, they dial things down to keep every flight safe, okay? We don't turn the lights out on everybody, but we just have a way of controlling the flow, all right? When we talk about travel anxiety, one of the biggest triggers is uncertainty. The brain absolutely does not like uncertainty. It's wired to look for what's predictable and what's safe. And it'll make things up in the absence of knowing the correct answer. So when things feel uncertain, it activates what I call the what if loop. That emotional part of your brain, or another way to express it, the elephant part of the brain. That's the part that starts asking, what if this delay means something is wrong? Or what if we're not safe? Or I don't feel safe. And just because you don't feel safe doesn't mean that you aren't safe. Okay. But here's where we can take back control. And that's where, that's the core issue for most of us in feeling unsafe, is we don't feel like we have control. But we can take what control we have back by engaging the rider or the other process in the brain, symbolized by this little guy sitting up on the elephant's back there. And it's the logical part of the brain. We can do that through knowledge and reframing. And you've heard me talk about those a lot. So you're doing the knowledge part tonight, and we're going to talk about some reframes. The reframe tonight is simple. The system is slowing down on purpose to keep me safe. So just if you're sitting there watching tonight, just say that to yourself. The system is slowing down on purpose to keep me safe. This is also a perfect time to use breathing, especially what we call HRV breathing, or heart coherent breathing. That's the one where I advocate, where you breathe in slowly for 4 seconds and then exhale for 6. That means that every 10 seconds you'll have 1 breath, 30 seconds you'll have 3 breaths, and in a minute you'll be down to 6 breaths. That's an amazing way to control and to help activate your parasympathetic nervous system and get some good slowing down in place. The simple rhythm of breathing in for 4 and out for 6 helps reset your calm and tells your brain, I'm safe right now. So when uncertainty hits, remember, your elephant may react, but your rider knows the truth. The system is working and you are safe. Okay? So what are we going to do with this? Well, whether you're an anxious flyer or not, the truth is traveling today requires some kind of plan to deal with these delays and the slowdowns. Think of it as your personal flyer's playbook. It's kind of akin to the flight plan that we make up front. It's a way to take charge before, during, and after your flight. Before you even leave home, take a few minutes to monitor your flight status and build in extra time in your itinerary. You know, this day and age, one of the most popular apps is FlightAware, and I forget the name of the other one, but you can get that for relatively inexpensively, and you can watch flights before you fly them in days leading up to it. You can, to help build your comfort that that flight is going to be safe. You can look at delays in real time and see what's happening. And knowing more is usually helps you make you feel better. So delays happen, so plan for them. Arrive early, pack a few snacks, keep your devices charged so that you don't have to add that to the list about not being able to call loved ones or not being able to get to your apps or the flight harmonizer when you're on the airplane. And bring something that helps you stay grounded. And this is where you need to practice beforehand, putting things together that might help make a difference in times of stress like this. Maybe it's music, maybe it's a calming apps, or even a few deep breaths. Okay, but whatever it is, you want to plan in advance for that. Now, once you're on board, your focus can shift inward, and that's where you breathe and help ground yourself again. Use your tools like the 4-6 breathing rhythm, the HRV breathing, to regulate your calm, and practice what you've heard me talk about: distanced self-talk, reminding yourself, you've got this. Hey, Ron, you've got this. Hey, Ron, you've done this before. Because you really do. The more prepared you are, the less your brain feels the need to overreact. Knowledge reduces fear. It doesn't replace it, but it does reduce it. And it allows you to move your attention off some things that absolutely scare the bejesus out of you to things that knowing things that and facts that are a little bit more comforting to you. And preparation builds confidence. This is what empowerment is all about: shifting your focus from what's outside your control to what's inside your control. And that's the thing about it. We try to control things that we have no power over, and we neglect the things that we can control. You can't control the weather. You can't control traffic. You can't control delays. You can't control the government shutdown. But you can always control your mindset and your response. And that's what you need to practice in advance and educate yourself so that you've got some more tools to do that. That's the real power of the having something called the Flyer's Playbook, knowing what you can do, preparing with purpose, and flying with confidence, no matter what the day brings. And before you go, you want to do these things here. You want to monitor your flight status, pad itineraries, give yourself some extra time, and arrive early. Once you get to the airport, have a delay plan, snacks, chargers, plenty of extra battery power, and calming routine. And remember, with the device, the portable charging devices, they don't want you to check those inside your luggage anymore. So you keep those all on board. And airlines like Southwest are asking that if you're going to use your charger, keep it out visible where we can see it if it should tend to overheat. Once you're in flight, focus on your breathing, grounding yourself, and self-talk. You've got this. And then finally, knowledge reduces fear. Preparation builds confidence. So keep learning, stay curious. Frame all these steps as empowerment, and because you can do this. Time, mindset, preparation, you can control all. You can exercise control in some of these areas here. So here's what really matters right now, especially in the context of the government shutdown and the ripple effects that it's having on air travel. First, safety is protected. The system slows down on purpose, as I mentioned before, not because it's unsafe, but because it's working to prepare safety or preserve safety margins. Okay, it's not unsafe, it's working to preserve safety margins. Second, expect unpredictability. You may see longer lines, slower traffic, and more delays in the course of your travels, but they're all part of the system's way of managing the workload safely. We just the fewer people we have compared to what we would be if we had a full complement of controllers in this case, the more delays that you can expect. You may and third is control what you can. Plan extra time getting to the airport. Bring your patience, a charger, a snack, and most importantly, bring your calm with you. And finally, maintain a positive perspective. These slowdowns, again, are a sign of safety, not danger. They're opportunities to practice what we teach here. Breathe, reframe, and remember the system is protecting you. It's not working against you when you have delays. It's protecting you and keeping the safety margins where they need to be. Every flight, every delay is a chance to strengthen your confidence as a flyer. Now, what I'd like to do now, I had some questions that came in last week. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Remember, feel free to text me 602-315-4602 if you've got a question, and I'd love to entertain it there. So here we are. We're back to the Q&A, and each week's like this one with Claire's question. Your questions help shape the conversations and the topics that I discuss on the show there, from turbulence to air traffic control to system safety. They all came directly this week from concerns and curiosity of not just Claire, but other people. It's been coming up a lot in coaching. People want to know, should I be worried about that? So if something we've talked about tonight sparked a question, drop it in the chat or drop it in my text here, whether it's about turbulence safety or even the psychology of flying. This is your time to ask. And so let's look at some of the questions that I got this week and go through them real quick. The question, this is basically the question I brought up at the oh, I'm sorry. This is someone just today said, do you think these FAA staffing shortages will lead to an issue with flight delays? I heard Sky Harbor, LAX, and Denver International are experiencing significant delays. So I did a little research on this, okay? The system in aviation isn't dependent on any one person having a perfect day. So when it comes to stress, okay, people, it's not just one system. It takes a whole team, and when somebody has a bad day, there are checks and balances in the system there to repair that and prevent things from happening. Controllers are some of the most highly trained professionals in the world, and even during stressful times like this government shutdown, the FAA and the airlines prioritize safety above everything else. Controllers who are unfit to work physically, mentally, or emotionally are encouraged and empowered to step away. And you're going to see in some of the numbers that I've got here, that's been happening more the deeper we get into this shutdown. Their backup staffing, peer support programs, and supervisory checks are all still fully in force out there. So while delays might increase, that's the system slowing down intentionally, as I mentioned before, to preserve those safety margins. The slowdown itself is a sign the system is working exactly as it should. So to anyone feeling uneasy about where we're at right now, remember this. The system never sacrifices safety for speed. Remember I said safety and efficiency are they're kind of competition, but we always respond primarily to safety. And even when the sky's slow, you're protected by layers of professionals and technology and procedures all working together to keep you safe and keep people like me safe up front. It's not just, it's not like I'm not there. That's why the U.S. aviation system remains the safest in the world, even under pressure. So yes, we're seeing stress put on the system, and we're seeing delays. Okay, moving into this one. so let me talk about some of the specific delays that I found here. A temporary ground stop was issued at Newark's Liberty International Airport due to staffing shortages, and that's according to the Business Insider there. It was later changed to a ground delay, averaging about 40 minutes. And you remember Newark was in the news earlier this year because they were having particular special problems with both their staffing and their technology breakdowns. The FAA reports that staffing related delays at major hubs like Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, O'Hare, and Atlanta, and Las Vegas and the Phoenix markets. So those are some of the places that Reuters has tapped into. The proportion of delays attributed to staffing issues has jumped quite a bit from about 5% pre-shutdown to estimates around 50% or more during the shutdown. So it's been significant. And that was published in the Business Insider there. And the staffing shortage, as I mentioned, it predates the shutdown. If you remember, we were earlier this year, I was talking about air traffic control in terms of the reports of not getting enough people hired, not having enough people on duty sometimes. So we were on the backside of this even before it all got started. You might recall the FAA said they're about 3,500 controllers short even before we hit this current funding crisis. And what this means for you is delays and ground halts are not isolated to one airport. They're part of a broader system-wide staffing pressure. And the way the airlines are organized to go hub to hub, if the airplane you fly this afternoon out of LA may have started in Charlotte early this morning. So if it had one or two stops along the way, those delays get to be cumulative after a while. And the delays are triggered before anything becomes unsafe. Again, the system proactively reduces traffic to preserve those safety margins. So for viewers, any of you out there that have anxiety over this, the very fact that we're seeing delays is a sign that the system is doing its job. It's discouraging, but it is doing its job. It's slowing for capacity, not for failure. And while the headlines may read controllers unpaid or ground stop at Newark, what's happening behind the scenes is this. The FAA is dialing back the capacity before the risk comes to the surface. It's a built-in safety feature, and it's one that I've experienced ever since I started flying in 1968, and it's gotten more and more reliable over the years there. So again, it's the way that we keep things safe. This is a kind of a detailed graph here. You see the biggest delays have been up here in the Newark area. It's a quick snapshot of what's happening right now across the air traffic system here. And these numbers are really current. I got them just earlier this afternoon. They represent the average arrival and departure delays for some of the nation's busiest airports. You can see that Newark, DFW, Hobby in Houston, Chicago. You can see the average arrival delay and the average departure delay. You can see Newark is up there right around an hour and a half. And it's the primary cause in Newark is attributed to staffing shortages. Dallas Fort Worth, a little bit less, but staffing and congestion. You come down here to Hobby, you see staffing and related slowdown. And then we look at an airport like O'Hare, high traffic volume and staffing. So they always got high traffic volume, but when they are restricted in terms of the number of people available to do that, it's going to slow down even more. And the delays are intentional slowdowns. I can't underemphasize that or overemphasize that. And they're built into the system to manage the capacity to keep things safe. In other words, when the FAA or air traffic centers see workload staffing reaching their limits, they reduce the flow. And I've mentioned in the past, there is a national air traffic control center in Washington, D.C. that is looking at all over the system, and they actually can put on the brakes on certain sectors in order to offset problems down the road as well. So sometimes it's local, sometimes they manage it from Washington, D.C. And again, I want to reemphasize this. The takeaway here is simple. Delays don't mean danger. They mean that the system is protecting you and your flight and everybody in the sky. And that's a powerful reframe. And I mentioned learning and education and reframing what you thought you knew are very important. And this is especially important for anyone who struggles with flight anxiety. The data here isn't a warning sign; it's a sign of safety in action. I know that makes a lot sound like I'm selling you a bill of goods, but it's really not. So getting here to the question that Claire added last week that prompted this whole program this evening is, should I be worried that stressed or unpaid air traffic controllers could make flying safer? Well, that's an understandable question, and one that I've been hearing a lot, as I mentioned, uh, Claire, and then a bunch of people during the week there. And when we see headlines about air traffic controllers working without pay or under added stress, it's natural for our minds to imagine the worst case scenarios. That's the way we're wired. But here's the reality, and it's one I know firsthand from years in the airline industry. The safety system in aviation isn't dependent on any one person having a perfect day. It's built on layers of redundancy, not just the airplane redundancy, but layers of redundancy throughout the system. Oversight and teamwork. They're all designed to catch and correct human errors long before they could ever affect safety. And you can see that over time, how the system, regardless of the ups and downs in air traffic control and other parts, components of the system, the overall safety continually gets safer. And controllers are some of the most highly trained professionals in the world. That's one of the problems is getting them from their entrance through to being qualified, not just through the school at Oklahoma City, but be getting out there and getting the 2 or 3 years of experience that they need before they can operate without supervision. And the even during stressful times like a government shutdown, the FAA and the airlines prioritize safety above everything else. Controllers who are unfit to work, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, they're encouraged and empowered to step away. Backup staffing, peer support programs, supervisory checks all remain fully active. And so while delays might increase, that's the system allowing or slowing down intentionally to preserve those safety margins. And anyone who feels uneasy, remember this: the system never sacrifices safety for speed. I know it's hard to believe, but each controller is not an island unto themselves. They're part of a team, and the team doesn't sacrifice safety to make things more efficient. So when the skies are slow, you're protected by these layers of professionals and the technology that we've talked about, and the procedures that work together to keep you safe. That's why the system, once again, is the safest in the world out there. So, uh, and the last question here, somebody asked me, it kind of related more to general anxiety, but this question was, when the plane hits turbulence or goes through clouds, could it suddenly fall out of the sky? This is one of the things that people, it seems to transcend a lot of people, is first of all, when they're in the clouds and they can't see out, and the airplane starts to go up and down or have some drops and things like that, the first thing that happens is people wonder, can this thing fall out of the sky? I've said it over and over and over again. It cannot. Airplanes fly, and unless the wings come off, which they don't, that airplane is going to fly all the way down to the planet Earth. True, we need a place to land when we get it down close, but flying in the clouds, just because you can't see out and you experience turbulence, doesn't mean that you're in danger. It just means that you're uncomfortable with what's going on. And the truth about turbulence is airplanes are built to handle turbulence far more than what we would ever experience as passengers. And what feels like a dramatic motion inside the cabin is actually very small movement in the air. You've heard me say it, you probably don't move 6 inches to a foot, uh, just up or down. But it seems like it's so much more because it's so dramatic and it happens over such a short period of time. When you fly through a cloud, what's really happening is that the airplane is moving through tiny pockets of rising or sinking air, and the airplane has to adjust to maintain its course. But it's always flying, always supported by the air around it, no less than a cork floating down a stream. It's going to bob and weave and do whatever it needs to, but it's not going to be deformed by the pressure of the water, nor is it going to break up or fall or go below the surface there. And think of a airplane in turbulence like a boat on gentle waves. The boat might go up and down, but it's never in danger of falling because it's floating on water. It's just that you can't see the water when you're in the air. It just goes against the common sense that we're born with. Airplanes do the same thing in the sky. Again, and it's just because you can't see the air. So even in strong turbulence, the wings flex. You look outside, and some people get concerned by that, but if they don't flex, they break. And so that's why they bend to mirror the resilience that you're trying to develop. And because that's what they're designed to do. You're designed to be resilient as well. It's just that it takes more knowledge sometimes in areas that you have uncertainty about. We as pilots are constantly monitoring the weather, and air traffic control helps guide us to smoother altitudes and smoother routes. But sometimes it's inevitable that we have to go through some bumpy areas. And while turbulence might feel uncomfortable, as I mentioned before, it's not dangerous. The airplane isn't falling, it's just adjusting to the invisible currents in the atmosphere. And when you feel those bumps, remind yourself, this is just the air moving, not the plane falling. That small reframe, once again, can shift your brain from panic to perspective there. So, tonight, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this reminder. Confidence doesn't come from smooth skies. It comes from knowing you can handle the bumps, whether it's related to air traffic control or the weather out there. Flying safely through challenges is a learned skill. We literally have to learn how to activate our parasympathetic nervous system and calm ourselves down. Every flight, every delay, every moment of uncertainty is a chance to strengthen those skills. I know that it may sound corny, but it's really what I've witnessed happening over the 38 years and the thousands of people that I've experienced directly and indirectly through stories that they've told me about how they've overcome their fears. You're more resilient than you think. And you've already proven that you can adapt and learn and grow. And remember, you're not doing this alone. As long as I'm here at Fearless Flight and the weekly shows and the community that's around here with the Birds of a Feather group, we'll be here every week to bring you more insight, reassurance, and tools to help you fly with the confidence that you need. So stay connected to us through the Fearless Flight website and our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So until next week, when we come back, keep breathing, stay curious, and remember the skies are waiting for you. So until next time, keep breathing and come back, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. And thanks again to my guest, Lubomir, for coming on and sharing his courage with us. All right, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.